All right, let's get to some of your questions for the week. One that I got a bunch of times, including during live calls on, what day was that? Live calls on Tuesday. Is Donald Trump really going to run again in 2024? There have already been rumors swirling that Donald Trump supposedly is telling advisors he's going to run in 2024. First of all, we should sort of be skeptical of that, because if Donald Trump still exists in the state of denial in which he seems to be living, I don't know that he still is really believing that it's over. Only if you believe it's over would you start thinking about 2024. So maybe he's been saying it, maybe he hasn't. I think there's a couple different ways to approach this. First of all, I kind of doubt it. He will be 78, almost 79 at inauguration. That would make him even older than Joe Biden is now. Joe Biden, already the oldest president to be inaugurated into the White House. So I think Trump has what seems to be sort of adult ADHD. I think that over 4 years, Trump's going to, a lot's going to happen to Trump, and who knows what he will be doing from 4 years from now. I don't find it particularly likely. Secondly, we really can't control that right now. There's nothing we can do about that right now. And so when callers ask me this, I will speculate today, but I am going to go back to what I was saying, in 2017, when people asked me about 2020, I would say we have a midterm here that we have to deal with. So I think that we should not really worry about it at this point in time and take the approach of we'll deal with that when the time comes. Now, in terms of what the nominee and even the Republican primary would look like in 2024, with or without Trump, we need to see what happens to the Republican Party in the next 2 and 4 years. And we're going to talk about that next. But there are lots of names that, and remember, in 2012, if you had asked who's a likely Republican candidate, you weren't going to hear Donald Trump from too many people. So I say this knowing that we're terrible at figuring this stuff out. But in looking at what are possibilities, could a child of Trump run in 2024, Don Jr. or Ivanka? I think it's less likely with Trump losing, but it's possible. Marco Rubio all of a sudden seems to be acting as if he's already running for 2024 Republican nominee. Tucker Carlson is being mentioned by a lot of people. That one's actually scary to me, because I think in today's environment, Tucker Carlson could actually win a Republican primary, which is really scary. In 4 years, I don't know. Right-wing extremist lunatic Tom Cotton's name is being mentioned. There's always the possibility of a former vice president running, which would maybe put Mike Pence in there. Although he's so uncharismatic that it is hard to imagine, but it's within the realm of possibility. Ted Cruz is a name that continues to be thrown around, and Sean Hannity calls him one of the greatest legal minds or something like that. So certainly it's somebody who would get a boost if the Republican Party decides to go the direction of a woman. Nikki Haley comes to mind. Years ago, I would have said, what about Condoleezza Rice as maybe the first Republican presidential nominee? I think Condi Rice, with her disagreements and distance with Trumpism, is a less likely option for 2024, but maybe it could be Nikki Haley. Would Jeb Bush try to sweep back in and say, hey, guys, let's go back to sanity? My brother was sane. This is what he would say. And I will be sane. And, we can go back to just like boring evangelical type Republicans. These are all possibilities. It really is impossible to know at this point in time. I don't believe it's worth putting a lot of time into. We have objectives that are happening right now. The objective in the immediate is we have just under 2 months until there are 2 Senate runoff elections in Georgia that will determine who controls the Senate. That is where 98% of our efforts need to be. The other 2% just on keeping an eye on Trump and making sure he doesn't do anything too crazy in these remaining weeks. After that point, it will be a year of what is Joe Biden's first year, pushing for him to get things done that are possible with a Democratic Senate if he has it, without a Democratic Senate if he doesn't have it. And we'll talk about what those things are momentarily. We will then go right into the 2022 election. And that is going to start before you know it. We're probably, 10 months from the early stages of 2022 election. And that if the Democrats don't take control of the Senate this time, which remains to be seen, taking control of the Senate in 2022 will be a massive priority. And in fact, if Democrats don't get the Senate this time, getting the Senate in 2022 is what all of Joe Biden's first term successes, the major successes, legislative successes, could ride on. So that will be massively important. And then when the time comes, we will get to talking about 2024. But I would not spend more time than is worth spending on it at this point in time. And this gets us right into question number 2 today.